What's going on, guys? It's your boy Roliver Queen, and I know it's been a while, but it feels great to be back. And I just want to let you guys know that I have a brand new schedule lined up. I have videos coming out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But let's not waste any more time. If you haven't already, please hit that like, please hit that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications so you're always in the loop whenever I drop new videos. So let's jump right in. In this video, I figured I'd talk about Micheal Bendis and how I feel he's handling Superman, Action Comics, and how he handled Event Leviathan, which is the only three comic books that I've been following so far. So I'll give you guys a history of Action Comics, Superman, and Event Leviathan, at least from my point of view, and I'll wrap around and let you guys know how I feel about Bendis' writing in general. So I started off Superman with Rebirth. I had no real knowledge of the New 52, and Tomasi's Superman run is where I was first introduced into Superman, and Dan Jurgens' Action Comics is what I also used to keep tabs on him. So like 12 issues into Tomasi's run, I dropped it. The writing really didn't resonate with me. I really didn't care about Superman and his family, John, all that other stuff. It wasn't interesting to me, and at the time, I really just had to keep an eye on how many comic books I was being subscribed to at the time. So if I didn't enjoy it, I dropped it. Long story short. So anyways, fast forward to when we found out that Bendis is going to be writing Superman and Action Comics. So I was like, well, let me just use this time to fully get back into Superman and fully get back into Action Comics, because before Bendis, I would still follow Action Comics, but off and on. So I decided I'll follow both comics consistently. I also knew that he was going to be doing Event Leviathan. So how do I feel in general? I do like Superman, the main Superman run. I like Action Comics, but currently I think I'm still a little bit salty with how Event Leviathan went and how that's tying into Action Comics. Both of them are iffy for me at the time, but Superman, I still think that has been the only consistent comic book that Bendis has written. And I think one of the reasons because of that is, I just had no attachment to Tomasi's run. So a lot of the things that people have issues with that he allegedly ignored, I don't really care about because I did not care for Tomasi's run. But Superman is right now the most consistent title that he is writing. But I did notice one thing out of the three comic books. It's very blatant that this man is just ignoring continuity. It's wild. It's really wild. I know in Superman, there was a scene where he was talking to Lois and he wanted to keep tabs on what everyone was doing. And mind you, this is the tail end of the Year of the Villain. So apparently when he was looking around to see what everyone was doing, Alfred was alive, even though we knew he was dead in Batman. Martian Manhunter was still alive, even though we knew, Lex had snatched him up in the Justice Doom War. I know in Superman 19, it was Superman 19, the recent one, there's a scene where Harley Quinn is in the Justice League, and apparently there's a couple of Justice League members that are present, but they're not supposed to be present according to what's happening in their own stories. And now we move on to Action Comics. The whole Legion of Doom is there just causing mayhem, but they're not supposed to be there because of the events of the Justice Doom War. So that's wild. In terms of Event Leviathan, I think that's even more of a blatant example of him just ignoring continuity. At the time, Green Arrow, he was retired. Green Arrow 50, Green Arrow said he didn't want to be Green Arrow anymore. Well, he didn't say it per se, but it was heavily implied that he was done being Green Arrow and he was done with the Justice League and he wanted nothing to do with them until, it was time for him to step in. He was here in Event Leviathan, in Seattle, where he got exiled from, like a couple months back, but there was no mention of that. Event Leviathan had a Deathstroke running around, but at that time, Deathstroke was dead. Also, Event Leviathan was happening at the same time of the Year of the Villain, so why is there no Doom Sigil? What the hell? And I'm pretty sure there's a couple other things I left out, and one thing that just clicked in my head was just like, there has to be a reason why this man is just blatantly ignoring continuity. And then it clicked in my head. Bendis probably writes for trade. And yeah, I think that's the only thing that makes sense. He writes for trade. Say if someone was supposed, say if someone picked up Bendis' Superman, and there's someone who trade waits. So if they pick up a trade of Bendis' Superman, obviously they're only interested in what's happening with Superman. They don't really care about what's happening outside of that. They just want to keep tabs on their favorite superhero. And it makes sense that, that title is not bogged down by continuity or what's currently happening in the world around him. They just want to pay attention to Superman. Same thing goes for Action Comics. You pick that up, and who cares if the Legion of Doom is not active in Justice League or destroyed or whatever. They're picking up Action Comics because they just want to keep tabs on Superman. Superman is who they're here for. They don't really care about the things that's happening around them. Same for Event Leviathan. Like someone, again, who trade waits and they want to pick up this event. It doesn't really matter that, Deathstroke is dead or Green Arrow doesn't want to be Green Arrow and doesn't want to interact with the Justice League for XYZ. They just care about the event. So it makes sense from that standpoint that, the continuity doesn't really matter. But as for people like me and probably a couple of you that's watching, week by week, one of the things that we enjoy about comic books is that week by week, these stories connect to each other. So there's kind of a disconnect there. And I definitely understand where a lot of the frustrations or complaints come from. But I think just moving forward, I think that's something we have to drill into our heads. It's just like Bendis doesn't write for week to week stuff. He writes for people who wants to sit down and read his stories in one setting without it being bogged down by continuity. And I think once I realized that, it kind of helped me, I don't want to say enjoy a little more. I definitely enjoy Superman more, and Action Comics and Event Leviathan I'm really iffy about. But overall, in general, it gives me a brand new perspective because writing for trade is something that I'm not used to, seeing in comic books. I'm used to seeing, the stuff that's happening in Justice League, play a role in what's happening in Flash, Batman and the Outsiders, Wonder Woman, all that good stuff. But I think Bendis coming into the field and, in his writing style, it's so different. But now that I understand that, it makes a little more sense. So I guess I'm less prone now to continuously nitpick at, the continuity errors, because again, it is written for people who don't necessarily care for the week to week stuff like we do. But again, I totally get it. I totally get, where the frustrations do come from. But I don't know, what do you guys think? I think I have a new perspective, and I think moving forward, I think I can overlook those type of things. And I do understand that maybe an editor's note would help. But then again, if the man doesn't want to write for week to week, does it really matter if he puts editor's note? Who knows? But I don't know. That's just my take on, Brian Michael Bendis and his current works, at least the ones that I follow. So what do you guys think? Does it really bother you guys that much that, his continuity is all over the place? Would you prefer that he writes an editor's note? So let me know what you guys think. And so that's pretty much it for my little spiel. But yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn on your notifications, and I will see you guys soon. Roliver Queen out.